Well, it is 6:00, so let's get this party started. I'm going to call this meeting to order. First on the agenda, pledge and mindfulness moment. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for the mindfulness moment. All right. Moving on to additions and deletions, I do have one additional to the agenda, which is an executive session 12.2 for appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee, ESA 313A3. And is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
All right, moved by Sonia. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Garrett. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to executive session, attorney-client communications, BSA 313A1F. So for folks that are here, we're immediately going into executive session.
Should I wait? Is it long?
Do you know how long it's gonna be?
I'm gonna say 20 minutes, Mark.
Okay, I can go out in the car.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Well, I think we go in the other room.
We could get you into another room if you like.
Well, no,
Yes.
yes.
We can go into
We can go into another room. And I think that's probably best.
What would you like to do?
Doesn't matter to me. I'm right up there. I could sit in my car.
Well, I would say, let's just go into a different room.
Yeah,
Just because it's
we have other guests.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there a motion for findings?
So moved.
So
Yeah.
there's, sorry. So motion by Garrett. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alice. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right? Is there a motion to go into executive session and include the superintendent and Mark McDermott
And
and Jamie?
So moved.
Moved by Alice. Is there a second? Seconded by Sonia. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are going into executive session. You guys hear us? Oh, okay. All right. So it is currently 6:19 PM. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Motion by Garrett, seconded by Alice. Is there discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board. Is there anyone here for public comment? All right, Cassandra?
Hi,
I will say you got a 2-minute. I apologize, I did not state that at the beginning, but it's a 2-minute amount of time starting now.
hi. I just wanted to thank you guys. I sent out an email earlier with a PDF attached for some pictures from our season. I run the Top Soccer Capital Region program. It's an adaptive inclusive clinic for kiddos in Central Vermont. We have kids coming from Danville, Waterbury, and of course the Barry area. We have students from Barry that I want to thank that joined us. Bella Cacinelli, Lexi Dodge, Elise Wilkin, and a Barrytown Middle Schooler, Zane Damaris. They were buddies for the season, and they have been actually for the last couple of seasons that we've been running. They donate their time, they get community service hours, and they buddy one-on-one with the kiddos while they're playing and learn skills. And I just want to say thank you to them. I also want to thank Miss Bushway from Berry City for donating some equipment for us to use. Kiddos work on their skills of individually. We have, I'm sure you're seeing some of the photos now. We used the parachute from Berry City. They loved it. They worked on their individual skills. We, at the end of the season, always have Spider-Man show up. It's Zane. And the kids love that. Sorry, I've got one of my own running around in the background right now. And it's a blast. I actually asked the buddies this year to come and bring something to spice up their costumes, as they're the real heroes helping the program keep going. So that's the last few pages that you're going to see. Kids loved it and had a blast playing with Spider-Man while they're finishing up their last clinic day.
Nice. Thank you for that. Anyone else notice that the parachute looks a lot smaller than what it did when you were a kid?
We have two, actually. We had the small one and the large one out.
Oh. Is the picture of the small one or the large one?
That picture is actually of the smaller one. And then a couple of the ones that you're seeing with the kids underneath are of the larger one.
Okay.
Yep. And it is a volunteer opportunity for any of the high schoolers to do every fall. We'll reach out to the school probably in August to let them know and share that information around as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Is there anyone else here to address the board? All right. Moving on to student voice. Is there anyone here for student voice? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. We've got regular meeting minutes for October 9th, 2024, and warrant approval of October 10th, 2024, and October 17th, 2024. Terry.
I'd like to make the minutes separate, do it a separate item.
Okay. That's not a problem. So a motion to approve the minutes.
So I would make,
Sure.
yep, I'll make a motion for the minutes. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of October 9th, 2024 as presented, with the understanding that any unidentified minor errors or inaccuracies may be corrected and revised at a later date as they are identified.
Second that.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table. Is there discussion? So motion by Terry, seconded by Terry. Is there discussion?
Did you say Terry twice?
Yes, you
Good.
did.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, Terry and Nancy. Sonia?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Under number 3, it says, Mrs. Farrell made a motion, seconded by Mr. Grant, and then second line is Mrs. Farrell made a motion to amend the motion. I thought Garrett made the amendment. I'm sorry, but I thought it was Garrett that made the amendment. Maybe it was Alice, but I thought Garrett made that motion to table the breakfast.
Yeah, I think it was Garrett.
So it should say Mr. Grant made a motion to amend the motion to approve the budget, the agenda, removing the stipend allocation item.
Was it? I remember you being part of it.
Yeah, I made the motion.
You made the motion? Okay. Is that, I assume that's okay with the mover and the seconder?
Yep.
All right. Additional discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to the warrants. Is there a motion to approve the warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Sonia, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Emily, is there discussion? Terry?
I have more warrant questions again, but no one here from the business office, so I'll just send them. But
I do want to mention something, Terry. Terry had a question previously about staff transporting students from the C program. And in my initial reaching out to the director, I determined that that was probably an isolated situation, and it is not. So I am in discussions with the bus company right now to see how we can change some routes. We do have staff that are transporting kids on a pretty regular basis. So I'd like to come back to a fuller understanding of that, but also to let you know what I'm doing to try to address it. Okay.
I'll put together a list and some more questions for you.
Sounds good.
Additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to principals' monthly reports. And they are in the packet.
They are in the packet.
Any comments, questions? Nancy?
Berry City, I wasn't able to access it. It's saying that, it's in the owner's trash.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll make sure you
Did
get
anybody
that.
else try to access it?
Did anyone else have a problem with that?
It
Getting
was in
access
the-
to the principal's reports?
So I know there's two versions of the agenda, one with links
Yep.
and one without, and the one that just had the full packet, I see
So,
Yeah.
the Berry City one.
All right. So are we doing links and,
I wanted to test the waters, so you tell
Oh.
me what you would prefer, but, it obviously would be more efficient if we had links. But that is totally up to the board.
Honestly, my first choice was the one that just had it all together. So I didn't notice that the link didn't work.
yeah.
can I
That's where
use,
I am.
can I use the links? But I will, take some time and, review that
Okay,
at another time.
Sonia?
Under the Berry City report.
Yep.
There's a section about the middle school eco Instagram.
yes.
I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to see what they were doing and I searched every single way I could think of and I couldn't find it. I clicked that link and it didn't pull it up,
So
but
there's no eco Instagram readily accessible.
not,
Okay,
no, not that I could find. So
follow up with
yeah,
Brenda.
that would be great. Oh, maybe Rachel knows what it is. I'm not sure. She's raising her hand.
Rachel?
I don't think so. She works at the 10, so
Oh.
she would know.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I follow that, or I've seen it, so I can put that. Is there a chat here? I can email it.
Oh, if you could email it, that would be fabulous. Thank you, Rachel.
Great, different things happen.
Thank you.
That.
Yeah.
One other question. I appreciated the Spalding High School graphs. I
Yeah.
think those were really helpful.
Good.
Could someone tell me on senior pathways, it says the blue part of the pie is, SHS student 52.4%, and it says 86. Is that 86 students?
That is a good question, Sonia, and I will have to, it does look like those are single counts in the pie. However, yes, and it looks like they would add up to the senior class, but I have to confirm that.
Okay,
Denise is on, the line, so she can,
I'm here.
Oh,
yeah, Denise, please.
Yes, if you add up those numbers, it is the size of the senior class. So those are the seniors that are at Spalding every day, all day.
okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Any other comments?
Go ahead, Terry. No, I wasn't done, but that's why, go ahead.
Oh.
Just come back. No, just come back to me.
Okay. In Berrytown, I noticed that they mentioned an athletic director.
yes.
That's, when we kind of talked about the open position at Berry City, you mentioned that might be one of those that's got some duplication in it. So I'm kind of curious, why did we fill a position that we think might be duplicative?
We are planning that for the budget round.
Okay, so it's in discussion.
It is definitely in discussion.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
It was great to read the building reports. It's nice to see educational content and discussions from the building principals. That's cool. Thank you.
Right.
Nancy?
Yes, I just wanted to make mention Berrytown, that they had 2,500 people attend the open house.
It's huge.
And I just want to thank all of them that, made it an enjoyable night for all the parents and the kids. A shout out to Bridget Abfell for the book fair. To me, seems to be very
Yeah.
popular, and she did a good job on that.
Mhm.
And also a shout out to Spalding High School and to Berry City. It sounds like things are going really good, and echoing what Terry said on the education. And I wanted to make a mention on the Spalding High School graph. I did understand that there was 86 students, and it was kind of interesting that you got 30, 18, or 31 students going to CVCC. Is that correct?
Mhm.
From the senior class?
Yes. Okay. Okay. And then, early, college, just about there's 29. I think that's awesome.
And actually, that number goes up when you look at the total population. So yes, we have a critical mass of kids that are taking advantage of early college credit.
Okay. And then you've got 6, seniors from C this
Yeah.
year. That's awesome. That's great. Okay. And also on C, I did want to mention that, I would like to get a little more information about their curriculum program, how it's going and, what successes, that they're actually seeing. And I'm assuming they've settled down. I think there was some program changes there.
Yes.
Okay, we
Yeah.
could get an update on that.
Sure.
Great. Thank you to everybody, all the staff.
Denise, let me just see if Denise is following up with what, are you gonna follow up on something that Nancy said?
Yes, I just wanted to share that the C teachers are working in collaboration with the high school teachers on several curriculum points. They were part of our discussions earlier this week, and Jesse, Amanda, and I are scheduling additional times together so that we all benefit from each other's specialties.
So are you saying that the curriculum at Spalding and at C is the same?
We are working on.
Or you're getting-
Well, we're getting there, but we are, and there's a very intentional, plan to have that done. So professional development days, common planning time, expectations. We'll be working on the schedule at C for the second semester to align that even further.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Thank you.
All right, Emily?
Thanks. I always love getting the building reports. It's so fun and nice to see what is happening and notice that there's little formatting change, which is really nice. I also noticed Terry's point about the athletic director, but also it looks like some of our middle school offerings are different by building. And I hope that can be part of a bigger conversation soon.
Yes. I've noticed that too, Emily. For instance, we don't offer world language in both places. And some of it has to do with finding staff, but I think we can do more to collaborate rather than looking at separate entities. So that is absolutely part of the vision.
Thank you.
I know how to fix that. I noticed that the seniors are working on their wills. Who here graduated from Spalding? Sonia, Juliana, Emily, Nancy. We all do wills? I can check. You can check.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Senior wills? You didn't do them?
I must be too.
Never mind.
No, we did not do wills, and there was, when I looked at how many students were in senior class of 86, I was like shocked, because I had almost 400 in the class, just seniors.
That's what we
That's
thought we
Spalding.
had.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, I
Yeah,
think,
it's 300, almost 400.
yeah, I think our class was when I graduated, was the highest amount of students.
So that just tells me there's a lot of room. We're getting off topic, but
All right. Alice?
Just along the line of staffing, I continue to question why the SEA has an individual principal if it is a division of Spalding High School.
Yes, his role is as director. I mean, that's logistics, but having an administrator on site if something happens is critical, whether it's a safety violation, whether it's a behavioral violation. So having that director position, being able to administer the administrator type of responsibilities is necessary.
Emily?
And just a follow-up, there must be legal requirements to have administrators or principals in buildings. I can't imagine that we have schools
Yes,
that could be
related
existing
to
without-
some of the legal aspects of what they need to manage on a day-to-day basis, absolutely. Yeah, and this, as the education quality standards say that you should have a full-time principal for every, 10 staff members? And that's pretty low, and there are more there.
So it's a legal requirement to have a principal in the building. Thank you.
So that means we must have been, whoops, sorry,
Nancy?
sorry. So then last, when we didn't have one, is this the first year we've had one? So have we been out of compliance?
Wow. I don't know about the past. I do know that someone left last year and there
Okay.
was an interim person who was making decisions and taking responsibility. And I believe the person who left had the title of director, but I can do more research on that.
No, that's fine. It was just a curiosity question when you're talking about being, a legal requirement. And yet, and because in my mind, C is supposed to be under Spalding. It's part, like a subsidiary of Spalding, so they wouldn't, the umbrella of Spalding.
Yes, and that's why I said it's director. We refer to him as a director of the alternative program rather than principal. And I will say that from the very beginning of the year, we have melded those two programs.
Okay.
And there is a very intentional plan to align things that we do commonly,
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
especially the learning opportunities for kids, right? Especially those
Yep.
curriculum items.
All right. Moving on to 8.1, ESSER funding. It was in the packet. Do you have any questions? Terry?
Yes, because I'd asked to have this bumped to this one so we can have some more time to look at it. And I did spend some time looking at it. I'm just curious when we have financial agenda items, why isn't anybody here from the business office?
Today, there's a personal situation and I will make sure that that happens going forward. My understanding is there was not a clear understanding previously for other staff attending board meetings. But I agree with you, Terry. I think, it leaves me in a bad situation if I can't answer questions. So that will happen going forward. I will not say both meetings, but if we can designate one meeting a month, I think that's reasonable.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'll just follow up. Again, this is still a ton to digest.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting and lots of pieces moving around. So I'm looking forward to the final report for ESSER 3 coming back. So we can kind of see what the whole picture looks like. And I appreciate you'd put some notes somewhere. I don't remember where, that at some point, Jamie and the folks from EDI would give us a very comprehensive accounting of that, the what it equates to half of all this money that was spent here at Spalding. So that'll be good. And we can certainly see some more detail of where this money's been spent. So thank you.
Nancy?
So are these, I see ESSER 1, and there's some bullets of, I'm assuming this is what the money was spent on.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming this report, this is what was presented to the,
To the Agency of Education and
Education, right.
Financial Reporting.
Yeah.
I do not know the grain size. I do know that they have expected reports along the way, expenditure reports, because that's how the money gets released. But I don't know the grain size of what they require. I do know that, remember, I came from New Hampshire and I haven't been in Vermont for a couple of years. My understanding is that when they gave the original guidance, they required that we spend a certain amount on loss of learning. We had to spend a certain amount on cleanliness for the building, things that had to do with the pandemic. They allowed us to make building upgrades under that. What those percentages look like, I can't tell you right now, but if that's part of the next conversation, I'm happy to look into it.
well, no, I was kind of looking something, I'm assuming that, you got this money and there had to be some kind of reconciliation with the system. That you spend money, you have to record it. And, and this to me seems as clear to go to the Agency of Education, but where's the financial reports for the district?
I would think that would be part of the audit as well.
Well, this was only September 30th. The audit right
Right.
now was part of June
23.
30th
Yeah. So
of 24, but this goes on to September 30th of 24.
Right.
So what I'm wondering is, the financial system should be able to produce a report. Just like we get with the budget, the line by line items, we should be able to, see all of that. And then my second question is on the 10 million. So if we have until September 30th to spend the money, how come this is going on until the end of November?
I think it has to do with, reconciling the invoices and making sure that all the payments are made.
Okay, or is it that we're spending money, are we using some of that money for, fiscal year 25 or fiscal
No.
year, no, going back? Okay, okay. So how, okay, I'm confused on this. If we are supposed to have a drop dead deadline of September 30th, but we're not reporting this until November, what's driving that?
It's a good question.
Okay,
It's a good question.
okay. Because I'm thinking that maybe for fiscal year 25, maybe you're applying some of this money, and I wasn't sure how that was going to affect the budget. I don't know what's going on. I don't think you can do that, but I wasn't
No,
sure.
like, for instance, if there was a position last year, because that money has to be expended by the 30th, we could
Right.
support that position for 2 months of the school year, but
Okay.
we can't pay for it after that.
Right, right, yeah. So my big question is, what's the driving force on this being so late in reporting and being able to get the financial details on this?
All right. Emily?
I just have a few clarifying questions. We're looking at, this money has already been spent. So all of this is, we're looking at it to review it for what has been spent, to understand that. This is the first time in this meeting that I'm hearing, because I wasn't on the board when most of the ESSER funds were being distributed, that we were required to spend it on like cleaning the buildings, and I'd like to learn more about that, because it seems like there are specific uses and requirements for spending this money. Which is like most of our grants, right, have very specific.
They have usually a very specific criteria, and that's how they get approved once they get submitted either to the agency or the other source.
So it's not like we're getting grant money that we can just decide
No.
how we spend it. It's already been decided for us. Thank you.
The major categories, yes,
Mhm.
and the percent of the whole, yes.
Okay.
All right. No additional comments. Moving on to superintendent goals. Well, so the goals are there. Is there any comments,
Input,
input?
Well, let's go first. Oh, I've got some, sure.
Terry?
So on goal 1, Joanne, I like what I see there. That we upgrade this kind of stuff. That's a great goal. I like it. Emergency operating plan.
Mhm.
What I'm curious about is, why does it take 8 months to have evidence of practice drills and updated manuals completed?
because they haven't been completed.
Okay. So 8 months for 100% completion.
Well, because every month we are required to have practice and drills on certain areas.
Mhm.
There's a requirement of all of the buildings having safety plan meetings. There's a requirement that the district has a coordinating 4 times a year. So I could show you the evidence that those meetings have happened, that we are up to speed in all areas of improving and aligning the new requirements of Act 129, which is the a requirement that districts have to follow to update their emergency operating plan. And there's some work to be done, to be honest with you. These
Good.
plans are not congruent. They are not coordinated. There are pieces that are missing. And I say that with also knowing the principals have really jumped on scheduling their meetings and getting things back to order.
Okay, awesome. So part of this, obviously, safety and all those things. Will we start doing fire drills when the buildings are fully occupied instead of early in the morning?
Yes.
Thank you. Doesn't do any good to do drills if nobody's there.
Exactly.
So good, thank you.
Great question.
That was a great answer.
Good question.
Probably knew I was gonna. On goal number 2, I appreciate this one, to have some sort of a, a revised budget process. I think it's something that is long overdue. We've had 2 incredibly dysfunctional, budget cycles, back to back, which we certainly can improve on. A model, if you wanted to look at it, the Berrytown municipality has an amazing budget process, that is incredibly, thorough, transparent and effective. And it's, when you look at the, success rate of those budgets passing, they do an amazing job, and they really kick the tires, right? So for those of us that are line by line people, the way Berrytown does it is amazing. So
Is that something that can be shared with me?
I'm sure,
Okay.
absolutely. And I'd be happy to facilitate that too.
Yeah, as long as we have a little bit more
One minute.
transparency with our process.
Please
I would
continue.
have to say.
Please continue.
I would ask what that comment means, because it seems that it was directed at me.
No, not at you, at the process.
Okay. Good. I'd be happy to help facilitate that if needed, just to take a look at it. But it's a pretty good process. And, does it completely correlate to this? Certainly there's some differences, but it's certainly something that we could look at
Great.
if you were interested. Goal 3, support the school board to implement good governance procedures. Yes, please.
That's
but
an
it-
ongoing goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But what I found interesting was, and of course, some of this unfortunately is subjective, but to become a successful school board, it'd be interesting to see what everybody thinks that definition is. Yeah, this is ongoing, but I think there's some, maybe some looking in the mirror work that needs to be done here on a lot of our parts, right? So anyway, that's it on goal 3. Goal 4. Conduct special education program review and determine cost and quality options. Awesome. Thank you very much. I think, we've heard loud and clear from our community that they feel like we could certainly do a better job in this regard. So I love that this is going to happen. My question is, review based on what? AOE standards, federal standards, the standards essentially that we have to operate with them, right? So that's what the review would be
Those,
based on.
yes. I mean, I think I mentioned to the board that we are going to be engaged in a monitoring from the Agency of
Yeah.
Education this year. That's only one, that's like a compliance data point.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I think it's really important to look at historical data as well as predictive data concerning child count numbers, the type of disability categories that we're serving, how those numbers have either declined or increased, what our programs are doing. Do kids stay in those programs forever? Do we have to transition them to higher paid programs, or do they go back to inclusive settings? I mean, it's a lot more detail, and I've done this. I mean, I haven't done it personally, but I've had it done in previous districts, and I think it's really beneficial to lay out a multi-year plan, because none of these things are going to get fixed in a year. And I think you'll be happy because it is very much based on data.
Yeah, awesome. And I appreciate this goal very much. And I appreciate what you have shared with us that you and Director Franks have worked on so far. It's exciting. I think that's pretty cool stuff. So long overdue in this district for sure. Goal number 5. What I found interesting here was some, that we're talking about some data and reporting and things like that. Certainly you've had your hands full since day one. We are accustomed to getting certain reports quarterly. We haven't. It would be nice if we could get back to some of those.
If you look at the work plan, it is on the
They're in
work
there.
plan.
Good.
You
Yep.
are going to
Yep.
be getting those.
No, that's
reports.
good, because it's nice to see those, because it helps you take a snapshot of this time period versus this time period versus this time period. So those are always nice to get. And then my last comment was, no, I think that was my last comment. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
Good stuff.
Sonia?
Joanne, thank you for the, goals. They are, very, I think, appropriate goals. I'm hoping that we can all agree to help support the goals. I'm specifically thinking of goal number 3, because there are a good number of us sitting around the table, when I was the chair and I asked people to do a board assessment and we didn't. So I'm hoping that we'll be maybe more enthused about that this time. And I have a question about, the multi-tiered under goal number 6, the
Yes.
multi-tiered system, support system. Do we already have NTSS?
You know, Sonia, I think sometimes there are words that get shared that when you really look at the fidelity of implementation, that's where the gaps are.
Okay.
And I think a lot of things have happened. I mean, I'm not gonna be that person who's gonna hang my head on the pandemic, but we're out of the pandemic now.
Yes.
We have had systems. I think we may have strayed from the original intent of some of these systems. PBIS is another word you've probably heard. Really good stuff, but we need one umbrella by which we are coordinating these efforts in order to improve the programs for our kids, but also look at success through data, and then also align the staff to where the biggest need is. And you'll hear a lot about that in the budget presentations around redundancy and around who needs what. But that's something that needs some attention.
Okay,
And I'm working with the principals right now to make sure that that happens.
perfect. So my follow-up question to that is, it says through the Project Aware grant. Could you just tell me more about that? I'm not sure I know what that is.
Sure, well, I was wondering whether you knew about that. I know Emily knows about that. She actually is on a parent committee that was formed when this grant first came to the state of Vermont. So I'll do my best based on what I know. We were committed as a district to that grant before I got here. And so it was quite a big surprise when I first took the job because it's a huge undertaking. It is a federally funded grant that is given to 3 to 5 school districts per year. We are the second cohort of the state, and it brings together services from mental health, resources from the Agency of Education and other social service agencies in order to help us look at our 3 tiers for social emotional learning. And as I said, you know, we've gotten into hiring people, but I think because of the crisis of not finding qualified people, we have a bunch of people now that need some training, right? We need supervision. We need evaluation. We need to look at data, and we need to look at how our structures for meeting kids' needs are coordinated across our buildings and in our buildings. So it is a systems change, and it's going to take, we have this grant for the next 3 years. And it's a very healthy grant, and it would give us the opportunity for very much needed professional development. I would say one of the key things, besides describing who does what when in a job description and who do they report to, but also what skills do they have and how are we supervising them to implement those skills, and how we evaluating our efforts so we don't keep doing the same thing over and over again without having made any progress. So I think this is a significant opportunity for Barry, and, you know, I'm hoping to get a good running start. I've created a district leadership team. We're starting with that group to set some timelines for what we're going to do when. And part of the grant requires us to have a grant manager, someone with a background in social emotional learning that can help us build those systems. So when I started, I didn't think it was a very good idea to hire a new person when we didn't even have a budget. So I put this grant on hold. And now I'm going full steam ahead because if we weren't going to make any progress, they would have pulled the grant from us. And I really think this is critical for the work that we need to do in Garrett.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. But I can do a more explicit presentation at another board meeting so that you can understand more clearly what gets done on a day-to-day basis. I'm happy to do that.
Nancy?
Okay. I'm gonna try not to repeat what's already been said. I'm glad to hear that the emergency operating plans are getting looked at, and I'll be anxious to get updates on that as soon as that happens. I strongly agree that we need to have a better, improved, more detailed budget development plan. And is NASDAQ the only consultant that you'll be?
You know, I looked into that, Nancy, when I was working in this capacity years ago. There was actually a man in Chittenden County that he didn't charge anybody because he loved to do this work. And it was just like like some people like weather, he liked student enrollment, right?
Yep.
So he used to give us numbers for all the school districts in Chittenden County. I checked with my colleagues, at least in the Washington County area, and most people are using NASDAQ. So it is very inexpensive to get historical data and have them do part of the special ed review that I'm talking about. For membership, it's $1,700.
Okay. In speaking with them, I was quite impressed, because they really get down into the details and they really customize and they format and they listen to, what exactly where you want to go with this
Yes.
and what you want to do and hopefully the outcome that you would desire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the reports, I mean, I get excited about data, so I'm a little bit of a nerd, but one of the reports that I really appreciate is this 10-year historical enrollment. So you'll be able to see, when is it, 2014, and then a projection for 10 years ahead. So I don't think I've ever seen a report in this. We get year-to-year reports, but you don't have historical data or predictive data.
Exactly.
So, when somebody says, well, we're going to continue to have declining enrollment for 10 more years, well, I want to, and
You want to see it.
I
I
wanna
keep
see
my
it,
own.
right?
I put together my own just for that reason, just so I could see that.
Right. So that's the kind of thing. It would be a good repository for us. And they will also, like I said, there's a part of the special ed review that they will conduct as part of our yearly membership, which is good.
Okay, excellent. So will it just be NASDAQ or will you have other people involved?
Other
in that?
people will be involved. Actually, Garrett and Michael and Catherine and I are going to the VSBA conference. Will you join me tomorrow? Excellent. Catherine, will you be there tomorrow or just Friday? So tomorrow, I'm just giving you a little heads up. There is a little strand on staff budgeting, a staff-based budget. And it's the approach that I'd like to introduce to the district. Now, are we going to be able to implement that all this year? No. But we're setting the table and we're going to start to make decisions on our budget based on data. And going forward, I'm excited about this model because it is a model. It's not like shooting in the dark every year and trying to figure out how do we, and it's a 12-month process. It's not like a 4-month process. You do budget development 12 months a year.
That's how it should be done. Yeah, I agree. And, let's see, number 3, school board, board governance. Yes, I am anxious to, see, that we should really get into the board governance and, explore that. And, I'm looking forward to this. We're going to be dealing with this next week. Yeah. And, this is a good start to that goal. I'm also excited to hear about the special education program review. I have thought that right along, and that's an awesome goal. And goal 5, curriculum instruction, perfect. And the interest on the Project Aware grant, you mentioned something about having a grant manager. There's grant managers out there, you can outsource this.
I meant the managing the content, the activities of the grant, not the process of grant management.
Okay.
It's more having a background in what do good systems look like if you are serving all of your students' social emotional needs and making progress towards attaining those goals.
Okay, excellent. All right. Thank you so much. Excellent goals.
Thank you.
Alice.
I have one question that hasn't been covered. On goal 5, and curriculum instruction assessment work plan will address curriculum design process. Is that a recognized curriculum design process or just something that we're working with in our schools? And does that cover all of our schools?
It covers all. It's our pre-K through grade 12 curriculum design. And the process is common amongst all, but we're starting with aligning what we teach to our proficiencies so we can get clear about that. And one of the things that you mentioned, Alice, how do we report out to parents? And so there's going to be a website launched in the next month or so. And a lot of the information that we've talked about that needs to be put in place, the plan will be visible on the website. There'll be one for the internal staff and there'll be one for parents so they can see what is being taught at each grade level.
Oh, excellent. Okay, very good. And just to follow up on that, where it says the teachers engaged in the work during the professional development days and curriculum Tuesdays, does that replace the professional learning groups that we've had in the past?
The professional learning groups will be working together on those professional development Tuesdays.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'm looking forward to that.
I do have a question about goal number 5.
Mhm.
Need to develop an improved way to report out to parents.
Yes.
We currently do our local assessments twice a year, correct?
I believe it's a tiered model. I believe it's more than that. I believe it is 3
Okay.
times. I was gonna say 4, but at least 3 times.
Okay.
It may be 4, especially as you dip deeper. I mean, we have some general assessments to determine where our students are at, and then we have a way to flag students that we might need to do progress monitoring for, and then more in-depth diagnostic assessment, so we can tease out what's the particular instructional strategy or skill that's missing.
All right. Any other questions? No, oh, Emily?
So sorry. I support all of these goals. Thank you so much. I think having it written down, having a budget development process written down, whether it's our own unique one or we are looking at different models to see what works for us, having it written down will make a lot of things very clear for people. Go a long way for transparency. I think we'll have something to work with moving forward. Just around goal 5, as a parent, looking at those assessments, I would just wonder if there's conversations going on that are helping parents to understand how to interpret the sheet that they're given. It is very confusing and complex, and I think it leads to a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding, and confusion for people to read those.
Engaging parents in this conversation is a very important component of the website. I'm also going to suggest, I know next week we'll be talking about committees, but what I'd like to suggest, at least in the content of the curriculum work, that we broaden that to be special education as well. And so I'm going to recommend that both Amanda and Melody offer opportunities for parents to come in and meet with them and ask questions. Melody 2 times a year and Amanda 2 times a year. So those kinds of things that come up, they'll have an opportunity to ask directly, and we'll be able to connect them to the part of the website where more detail will be provided. But engaging parents is an important part of this, and you'll see more going forward.
All right, is there a motion to approve the goals, superintendent's goals for the year?
So
Motion by Alice, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Nancy, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to future CVCC discussion with Jody Emerson. Come on down. You want to be a contestant on the board's right.
What can I win?
Run away.
I don't know. I would have done sooner. So I'm not sure where you would like us to start. I presume Alice will support me as she is the chair of the board for us.
So Jody, if I could, if I may, conversation came up after the article in the Times Argus about the future of the Career Center.
Mhm.
So I think it raised a lot of questions about, so if they move, what happens? So maybe you can back up. I'm sure that the Career Center and the board has a plan, a future plan,
Yeah.
developing not only your programs, but what you need in order to do that.
Yes. So you might remember, those of you that have been here for a while, back in 2019, a consultant was hired by this board to look at what CBCC needed. And so there was some work done around how CBCC could be re-envisioned by Mike DeWeese. And he put out a report in 2019, which was followed by kind of an assessment feasibility study from LaValle Brensinger, which is an architectural group out of New Hampshire. That was in 2020. So this board heard that in October 2020. And then Truex Cullens was hired after them. Like there was a switch of architects. And they did a presentation in May of 2021. So that was both to this board, but also to the RAB of CBCC at the time. Basically talking about the need for us to expand beyond these walls because the facility doesn't meet the needs for the Career Center anymore. I arrived in 2021, and there were two different groups working at the time. There was the governance and this re-envisioning piece, and I knew I couldn't do both. So I started with the governance, and as you know, that is done. So we have this separate entity, the CBCC SD, and now we're moving forward with the facilities committee on, now that we're up and running, what do we do with this re-envisioning? And so the board adopted a vision that the facilities committee put forward last spring. And the vision is that CBCC's state-of-the-art facility serves all eligible students in our region, staffed and resourced appropriately. This would be expanded capacity for increased enrollment versus the applicant percentage. As you know, we've been turning away about 200 students each year for the last few. Increased academic achievement through full-day programming and a full school day schedule. Pathways to advanced career credentials. You know that I've talked about working towards an associate's degree in some of our programming, and strengthening partnerships with middle schools across the region to improve student access and eliminate barriers to participation. One way we're hoping to do that is to include a foundations program that reaches a little lower down than we currently do in hopefully next year, but we'll see how the budget process goes through. So that would allow ninth graders to start developing the math and literacy skills they need to be successful in our programs. So that's a pre-exploratory piece. We have been working with both Flo Valley Brensinger and Truex Collins in partnership this time around. So both of the architects that my predecessor worked with together have been working through what should the new center look like. And we've come through a process of thinking about what our needs are and what sort of programming we might include in a standalone center. And that gives us about 150,000 square foot building, which clearly isn't going to fit here, especially when we don't even have enough parking for the people who are here now because of that stormwater treatment piece. So not long after the board adopted that, we also sent out a communication to all of the board chairs and superintendents in the region of our sending schools, trying to engage in a conversation, recognizing that if we were to open this bigger center and to take all the students that apply, we accepted 73 Spalding students this year when we opened our doors with 224 students. So imagine if that were to expand, what the impact on the senior class would be, right, or any other class. And so we wanted to engage in a conversation of what does this look like for everyone else? And how do we do what's best for kids, what's best for our community, what's best for our state moving forward and building these students' options for careers and not harm each other in that process. And we didn't really get a lot back. We did get invited to Twinfield to have that conversation. There were a lot of questions from Jenna Osman, who is on my board, but also on theirs. So she had reached out and said, we were talking with Cabot. Should we stop talking with Cabot, start talking about a regional high school? We're like, no, like all the conversations need to be on the table. But we need to start talking to each other and we need to bring everyone together. And I think, I'm not going to necessarily speak for you, Alice, but I think my board felt like being a mix of all of the sending schools, representing all of them, we needed to kind of extend the olive branch and start talking about that. Our process right now is to slowly expand 1 or 2 programs each year until we can open the doors in 2029 to a new facility. That would mean a bond vote next November, so 1 year from now, for that new facility and whatever cost that may be.
And we have, just to speak for the board, we have spent a considerable amount of time discussing impact as to what an expanded career center would look like and how that might best coordinate with the schools as a regional technical high school in light of the BUUSD bill that was passed in the legislature this last session. all of these things impacting education and what would be the outcomes of a regional technical high school. So that's why we're very interested in speaking with all of the boards individually to get the group impact so that we're just not going alone on this, because the sending schools are extremely important, and we are extremely conscious of the fact that any decision that we make will most certainly affect those sending schools.
Darren?
Jody, when was the conversation with all the chairs? Did we do that?
It was an email to all
I
the
don't-
chairs.
We haven't done that, have we?
Did we
I
do
don't
one?
know as if that was ever passed along, like, was that?
I,
It was
when I first started, I
11.
do recall getting an email from you, Jody. I think
Yeah.
it was in July, right?
It was June 11th, and I did send it to you. It's probably blind copied, so I didn't.
Anyway, it'd be nice if it's not too late, if
And I
we
think
all could
you
have
should
part of
have
that.
gotten
Yeah, we should take advantage of that conversation.
I can leave a copy of it and the letter.
Awesome, thank you. So, Jody, so I brought up the questions last week, right? Because I read the article in the paper that you folks had gone up and talked to Berrytown, and Berrytown said, no, we don't want to sell you a piece or whatever, of the industrial park. And I love hearing that much of your discussion is around what's the impact for all of our sending schools. I think that's incredibly responsible. Thank you very much. But I think out of all the sending schools, I think the greatest impact clearly will be here. Because a whole wing of our building will all of a sudden become empty. So all that expense to owning that portion of the building that you're paying for, we in our community is now gonna have to absorb, in addition to paying our portion and share of building a new building, which ballpark idea, $150 million maybe? 200, because with Burlington High School, $200 million, right? So my comments at our last meeting were, why aren't we in Barry? Why are we letting you out the door? That was really my question. Why would Barry, I think the tech center is one of the crown jewels in our community. I do. And I understand what you're saying. There's not a lot of room on this footprint. But if we're talking about spending $200 million on a new campus, I get a little crazy when it comes to ideas, right? One, we can go up. Two, there's all kinds of stuff across the river. I'm sure that old dumpy granite shed over there, we could get it. You don't think we could? They won't sell it?
Doesn't DMS on that? No, they're a functioning granite.
I understand that, but why don't we act, right? Why don't we, right? I mean, there's gotta be things that we do. There's space across the street. Would the folks across the street sell the building? Would Bellevance sell their parking lot, right? There is square footage around this footprint, right? And our enrollment in this building is down to 400-ish students,
480.
480 students. in a-
Full-time, now I will say that does not count the students that are here half-time, that go to the career center.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah,
full-time
so
students.
certainly some capacity here and not trying to throw a monkey wrench into the process at all. But as a community, as challenging as it is in this community to patch budgets, and with all of the economic factors that we're hearing and the doom and gloom you hear out of the State House and what things are going to look like for money going forward, a $200 million bond, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it
100%.
really concerns me, right? So if that's the case, throw spaghetti at that wall. Nothing's off the table. What could we do to keep it here? Is there something we could do to keep it here? Could we add on to this building? I think Michael had a great idea at the last meeting, build a parking garage, right? There's no place for cars. There's a big parking lot right there, 2-3 decks. There's your parking issue taken care of easily, right? And again, when we think about $200 million versus, I don't know what's a parking garage cost. A few, I'm sure, right? But there's certainly solutions that we could look at. That was really my point, right?
Yeah, I think that was looked at as part of the feasibility studies before my time.
Mhm.
And there was just a declaration that you can't expand here. I think the stormwater issues would be expanded. if you were to put a parking garage over there, and if we were to put more buildings, bigger buildings around. If you, I think the Ellen Jones site across the street would be phenomenal, but it's gonna take not only purchasing it, but the cleanup and renovation of it. I don't know if you've been in there
Mhm.
recently, but I did tour it.
I would assume you'd flatten and build something new.
But I still think you'd have to do some significant cleanup
Sure,
of the
some
space.
remediation, yep.
I think that we've gotten the message in the past that there is no space here
Mhm.
for us.
Mhm.
And that was pretty clear last spring
Mhm.
when we were trying to find a space for welding,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
So
that message wasn't from everybody.
I
And I think some people supported you very much, and I continue to
Yes.
support you. And again, I think our community, if there's a path forward to do something like this, our community absolutely benefits from keeping you folks here.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
absolutely. I
wholly on board with
understand
Yeah.
the, both the monetary and keeping the students
Yeah.
here and what
Yeah.
it does for Barry.
Good, it's good for our community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Emily?
So how can this board help you in your journey to find land? Because I think the last time you came to the board, it was very clear that you're looking to build a standalone tech center of your own. Not add on here to this building, but to create a separate campus.
If you,
And
well,
I
coming
think
to our facilities meetings would be super helpful. And giving feedback there. Our next one is November 5th, and you can join online just like folks can on this one. Or you can come in person. We have identified a few more. We went to our B list of properties, and so we have identified a few more feasible sites. Both in Berrytown, actually. So there's potential that will still be nearby, and I think that helps us a little bit in thinking a little more broadly about this. I think you might need to repeat your question because I had an idea and I lost it.
so. My question really is like, I think the consensus of this board is
I know
that
it is.
we want to support the
Yes.
tech center and keep it in Barry. I think that's very important to start developing more educational opportunities for our students, other students, and become kind of a regional hub of education. I think that would be a great goal for our whole community. So how can this board support you, advocate for you, and help us realize that kind of shared goal?
One of the things that when my staff was giving feedback, as you know, one of the potential locations was a co-location at U32. Just simply because of the size of their property and the central location of it. And honestly, that would be the best bet if that were to become a regional high school and everyone was there. Otherwise, it's not really, it doesn't fit our vision. But our staff said very loud and clear that we don't have an identity. Our identity right now is Spalding. And folks don't know that we're separate. And we get parents from Spalding all the time that are like, why aren't you following Spalding's schedule? You're the same building. Well, we're the same building, but we're a different district, different school. And they were afraid that that too would happen at the U32 site. And we're very against that. We need our own identity. There are roles that we play in industry development, in adult education, for example, that people aren't seeing. When someone asks how to get to us, I usually tell them that they have to drive in, turn on that right before Spalding, drive down around to the back where you see the athletic fields, and we're in the armpit of the building at the rear. Which is just, it's not a great thing to be telling people. And so we're not visible, we're not seen. We need spaces where we can have a restaurant that we can run and where we can have some of the businesses that we need. And so supporting us in doing that. If you decide that there are some spaces here because you reorganize your high school somehow over the next few years, and you allow us to do that, I would ask as our landlord that you not ask us to also renovate spaces that you're using because we displaced something. That makes it really difficult and feels unsupportive. And I know that's not necessarily coming from you, but I want you to know that that's what we've done. So trying to, and letting us know that the money that we've spent, so our original lease agreement had basically, if you move out, we will reimburse X number of what you put into it. But everything that we had done prior to becoming a district that had come from the CTE budget was denied as being possible to be returned to us. And so every time we put money into this building, we feel like we're putting money into something we're not going to ever see again. And that's pretty difficult to swallow and to sell.
Still good.
So it seems like we need to have a further conversation as landlord tenant
We do.
also to kind of build that relationship,
Yes.
have more open communication. So, and I think that just is like having things in writing that are very clear and agreeable to both parties. And then we both know what's happening. So there's no miscommunication, which builds up resentment. And would that be a good path to move
Sure, and
forward?
our facilities use agreement does come due. It expires this coming June, so we will be having that conversation. Or we're gonna be looking, I guess, really quickly for someplace else to live.
And
One minute. Oh, you're responding to, okay.
well, yes, that what we've talked about at the Career Center Board is the fact that we would like to be able to offer the academic courses going all the way back to the early 1990s in Tech Trek and Carl Perkins and all of that, so that we can offer that, so that there may be students from other districts who need to access a history class or an English class. And if we're co-locating with a general education school, that those students would be part of that, that schedule to create the regional technical high school. But we still would need to have the regional curriculum would need to have its own identity, because that's extremely important to the continuation and the public acceptance of a career center, that it isn't just an arm of any general education high school, that it is a regional technical high school.
Nancy, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I support you 100%. I think you know that, and advocated for you on the welding, and I think it's great. So when I hear you mention about 2029, you're hoping to have a building, so that's a few years out. And being that we've only got 480 students here, in this building can accommodate up to 1,500 students. So it's, in my mind, I'm thinking that it's going to put you in a stalemate until 2029. Is there, and I know you're talking about the facilities, and is there room for them to grow here to be able to, once whatever is going to happen, you move to your location? Do you have a plan for that? You mentioned a kitchen, to expand on that. I know we've been buying quite a bit of appliances for the kitchen. Is there something that, I think it's what you said, we need to get together, everybody needs to get together and discuss this, because I would hate to see you be stagnant from now until then. And I think you need more support in helping to get your program going and what we can do here.
I just want you to know that Jody and I do meet regularly.
I'm not
We
saying it.
actually, and I'm very well aware of what happened last year, and I think it's fair to say that we have a very open,
Yes.
honest conversation, and I would like to work with Jody to determine what it is that she needs and bring a plan back to the board. It doesn't have to be complicated. I know you're looking at other spaces because there are things that we can't do here, at least in the short term. But we're trying to minimize the amount of programs that are out.
Right, but what can we do is what we need to look at, not
We'll,
what.
we'll be in,
Yeah, and there's some folks with some space not too far away that are willing to renovate it and then lease it to us. So
Excellent.
that's super helpful too. So it depends on what programming we need. I think there's a couple of programs that we could open up at least classrooms here. And then there's others that need some shop space that none of these classrooms would fit it.
Right.
It would be a lot of work to try to renovate.
Understood.
Okay.
Well, keep us posted and let us know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sonia?
I have a couple questions. One, I know when I was on the board for a very short time, though, I remember a conversation, and maybe this goes back to the regional high school, but the idea of going to full day programming. Is the intent to do that before you open your own space?
I think we're going to need to so if we look at last year's applications, for example, I could have had 2 billing trades, 3 cosmetology instead of 2, and 3 electrical programs. There might be a way that it'll be difficult, but there might be a way that I could have use of the electrical classroom for 2 different times and the space 2 different times. It's hard in that shop. I don't know if you've been in there recently, but it's sort of small. So trying to figure out how 2 different classes of students would be able to install the same things in the same pieces would be difficult, but there might be a way that we can overlap so that we can extend our time to allow for 2 programs. So those are things that we're trying to explore. I would love to move to that model because I know that we lose students returning to other sending schools. Just in the bus ride, or they drive and they don't go back to their school ride. And so finding ways and also making sure those academics are linked to their interest areas can keep them engaged in it as opposed to more traditional models. So those are things that we're working to do. I don't quite know where along the continuum that change happens.
Well, because as you're describing it, and we potentially have classroom space available because we don't have as many students, maybe, I don't know, I'm speaking from an assumption. But, if there's classroom space needed because you want to provide that full day program, can we provide that classroom space versus just a, shop space?
Right. Maybe we could even share a teacher.
Right. That sort of thing. So that may help in the interim. So that's one question. And then my second question is about, you talked about plan B for sites, but what is your plan C if the bond doesn't pass?
There are so many possibilities. So it's my belief and understanding that the APA folks that did that study on CTE a while back and released those findings, that they're going to put forward a proposal in the next month or so. It keeps getting moved back. That CTE in the state of Vermont becomes one district. I think if our bond vote fails, we need to wait and see what happens because that'll put us squarely in a different scenario where the entire state might have the opportunity to vote on it instead of 18 towns. And that, I think, makes it more likely to fail. I'm not sure. So there are so many different things that could change along the way that I think those will impact our plan C. Unless you had one.
Nope. I'm on board with that. The board is on board with that. We're waiting.
Emily?
I just have, just some, it's not fully clear to me how public education or funding tech centers, is there information that you could, next time you come, provide to us to help us understand that kind of big picture stuff? Like I know we tuition, but I just don't know all of the bits and pieces, so.
Yeah, I mean, the short story is that we charge you tuition based on your 6 semester average. So even our new program in welding, those students were not really getting funding for. Might get 5 from the design and fab program, kind of move them over to that. But we get on a 6 semester average. So the last 3 years, how many students have you sent to us on average? That's how we bill tuition. We figure out, kind of try to predict what that's going to be, which is pretty easy to predict, and build our budget based on that, and then let Joanne know, and you, because I'll be back in December, with here's what we think it's going to be, here's why, here's what's increasing that. Some of it's the facilities use charge that we anticipate, so we're going to have to try to guess what that might be. And I just share that out with all of you, and so you get that. Right now, we have a $4 million budget split based on that 6 semester average across our sending region.
So each
But it's built into
sending
your budget.
region has the same tuition per
The
student.
student tuition amount is the same. It's the amount they're charged is different because of the number of students. So you have the most
Okay.
students coming to us.
Okay. And then you send, I'm so sorry if I'm
No.
out of line. So, and then you present your tuition number and then the sending schools build that into their budget. And that is paid for through the,
Some of
Ed
it's paid directly to us from the ed fund and some of it is billed to your local budget. It's
There also is a
complicated.
public vote on the career center budget as well.
Yeah.
There's a separate ballot that deals with that.
yeah, thank you. That was,
Yeah.
there's so
It's
many different
complicated.
funding things. So if there are resources that you could point me to, that would be
Okay.
really great.
And it's also gonna change.
Of course, yeah.
How many acres are you looking for?
25 is the minimum. More is good. But that's what's required for the size of the building, for the stormwater projections. Depends on the space, obviously, with the flatter, the better.
There goes the idea that was popping through my head,
Okay.
which was, swapping out the C, bringing the C down here and having you go up there, but
Well, there
That
is a
thought was-
property adjacent to C that would get us to that level.
have you considered that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, can
I'm sure she's left no stone
Can I-
unturned.
ask what the result of that was?
We haven't, my understanding is that property is going to be a solar field, but I haven't been able to actually talk to the owner.
Yeah. Terry,
Along, where Michael's going. So we've had, and lots of folks are becoming more and more interested in a consolidation of our district. Becoming more efficient, eliminating redundancies, all kinds of stuff. I know when we first started talking about this a year or so ago, probably more than that at this point. Because I think I brought it up originally.
2 years.
I said a 10-year plan, because I think this is such a massive undertaking, that it would take that kind of time in, work to do it effectively. So one, it brings value to students, right? Doesn't harm education, but it also helps our communities. But does this fit in that model as well? And again, this is just, we should be in the dreaming stage right now, right? And we should be thinking of all kinds of things. All three of our main campuses are not at capacity. If you vacate that corner of the building, look at the extra space we have here. We're talking about, again, you folks spending $200 million to build a building. Is there room? Again, this is nothing that would happen anytime soon, but why can't we have a conversation about our buildings and consolidation and saying, move all this stuff around and you get Berry City Elementary or Berrytown Elementary or whatever campus, right? I mean,
I was.
and again, I'm not,
I was on the same
right,
wavelength.
I'm not saying, right, and I know these kinds of talks are sensitive for some folks, and that's okay, and I understand that and appreciate that. But again, if we're talking about looking at this is a big deal, right? This isn't a little thing, but again, we have to face the reality that our campuses in our buildings are, the other elementaries are half capacity, 2/3 maybe, I don't know, it's not.
I can't answer that
It'd be
question.
interesting to know what
Yeah.
that number is, but we know this building is certainly, well below half. Right, I think we gotta be creative. I think we gotta think outside the box here and go, if we could snap our fingers and put together a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-year plan that works for us and works for you, so you have your own identity. We've got 4 amazing campuses. Do we need them all? So, I think you would consolidate us tomorrow if you had your way. I'm not there. I want it done very methodically, very deliberately, so that it doesn't harm, we don't harm each other. It doesn't harm our students and doesn't harm our community, that we do it properly if we're gonna do it, which is a massive undertaking, which I think would take years. But I think it's something we should be talking about.
Especially if you're looking at 2029, the BCEMS is 11 acres. I don't know what.
That
the
whole thing's
acreage- Well, that's owned by the school district. Now, there is, when you go up over the hill,
Yeah, the
there's
property behind it
more.
that's for sale.
But
right now.
if I recall, that property is
Was
not-
there yesterday.
It was-
It's a big hill.
Yeah, it's
With a
not,
lot of power lines that you can't build under.
yeah, it's not, because I think this,
Uh,
I won't say that.
I don't think I saw those.
But, there was, yeah, but I think that property behind there is for sale, if I recall. But it's not very friendly for development. But that being said, you know, I don't know how many acres is very, very town.
I know the town
And-
owns a lot of the acreage around it.
Right. Yeah,
Spaghetti on the wall, right?
Yeah.
Spaghetti on the wall.
I think our board would be willing to talk about it, and I keep hearing our architects say sometimes renovating buildings isn't cheaper.
No, right.
Exactly.
So
maybe
who
not,
knows?
but you know, I'm thinking of the ballot. I don't know, it would be kind of cool, because at the same time, you're asking to merge and asking to sell to CVCC. You know,
We are, so we're
which-
in the middle of our 10-year plan.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Judy. Oh, it looks like Derby? Darby. Sorry,
Yep.
Darby.
I just want you to know I'm here for my first meeting again since the budget is passed. And the last meeting I was here was hard. And I sat here for many meetings and cried and listened to the budget be cut, be cut, be cut, be cut, be cut. And it was hard. It was we had so many different votes, and it was voted down, and I listened to my board argue and cut and cut and cut. And for my first meeting back here, I am listening to you dream. And not that I don't value a tech center and listening to you dream, but I am sitting here and letting you know that I am here. I am here and listening to you. And now I'm wondering where this money is coming from. Where is the money coming from for your dreams?
So
Where's it coming from? Nope. I'm just letting you know that I am here and I am listening and wondering where this money is coming from. You've already had this past budget season where you have had 4 votes that it took to pass your budget, our budget for our children. And not that I don't think that a tech center, which is a completely different district that you're trying to bring in, I get it. It's important and I value it. But
Darby,
I'm having trouble with you swallowing this as a staff member who is trying desperately to work with you. I'm done. Thank you.
so I just want to be clear when we're talking about funding for something like this. This is something that CVCC is going to be putting a bond vote out for. This is not connected to our school board, in, you know, any type of official capacity. You can do that as a school district yourself.
Conversation.
And.
But you are talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Point of
no,
order, Michael.
we're
Point of order.
gonna
Michael,
move
point
on.
of order. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
we're moving on.
Community members.
Point of
call to
order.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Moving on. Thank you, and thank you, Jody.
Jody, thank you.
Welcome. Thank
Great job.
And going on to request for proposal for annual financial audit. The RFP is in there. Is there a motion to authorize the administration to provide public notification of the RFP annual financial audit? Motion by Terry, seconded by Alice. Discussion? Nancy?
Yes, I have a question. 1.0, general information. You got a single district with an annual fiscal year 25 budget of 60 million plus, and that includes grants, special fund. It's more like 68 million. Not 60. I know you got 60 plus, but that's stretching it. So it's 68 million, right?
Which in the future, we'll start seeing those other numbers come up.
I'm hopeful that the RFP will produce more than just one result. Do you know if we've had multiple in the past?
I can't tell you the last time that you chose an auditing firm, and to be honest with you, when I learned that, I said to Lisa, it's time. Because you should consider that every 5 years, 3 to 5 years. And I know it has not been within the last 5 years. And I believe you've probably chosen the same firm. It's just good to get a different set of eyes. And I also had indicated in the board's packet, the timeline, because if the board chair and the vice chair cannot join us in opening up those proposals, then you would have to designate another board member to do so. So I wanted you to be aware of those dates, as we talk about this.
Sonia?
So, to your point about, using the same auditing firm for the last few years, I have been asking to look at other firms, but we also just changed our, chart of accounts and accounting system. And so trying to change the accounting system and the auditor at the same time isn't necessarily the best, as the business manager described, the best way to move forward. So that's why we've stayed with the same. We
Got it.
merged.
Yeah.
We merged us
Yeah.
into one district.
Makes
Then
sense.
we changed chart of accounts and accounting systems, and now here we are in a more stable place. And so I think that there's been a few things that have happened
Great.
to not allow us to be able to go out. So I just want the public and the board to understand that this wasn't like,
You
but we're
haven't
gonna
been
just,
doing, yeah,
we're gonna just keep going with the same one. There were reasons for it.
thank you.
Thank you
Sonia.
for providing that information, because I was curious about that. Catherine?
I just had a question, 5.1. It said that proposals would be emailed by 10 a.m. Monday, November 25th.
That date has to change. I'm sorry, no, that's vacation week.
Oh, yeah.
Can't happen. Thanksgiving. So I thought we made the change on this draft and I apologize.
But I would be available for
You would? I'm not gonna be.
the meeting of.
I'd be in town. Thank you, Ken.
I'll be there.
Sure.
Do you have, question, do you have a list of, do you have the list of auditors you're sending this to?
I do. There are 4 or 5 of them, and I'm happy to send those out to you ahead of time if you want. to.
Excellent, yes,
Yeah.
please.
All right, so there was a motion and a second. Discussion is over. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Old business, October 24th and 25th, VSA School Board Superintendent Training. Put that on there.
Yeah,
Nothing to say.
Nope.
All right. Is there any questions? Okay, moving on to meeting conflict proposal. There is a proposal to modify November and December, if I recall,
Mhm.
and to leave February and April for a later date. And I'm going down to the motion somewhere here. Is there a motion to, the superintendent recommends that to accept the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to modify the dates as described in the memo?
So moved.
All right, so that's motion by Garrett. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sonia. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion passes with Terry saying nay.
Yeah, I had a question, but,
All right, and we have moved on.
okay.
The next item is board retreat. The recommendation of the superintendent is to approve the purchase of the food and location. So the food would be Locarno's and the location would be Berrytown.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Nancy. Sonia?
Question, when you say Berrytown, do you mean Berrytown offices or Berrytown school?
The Berrytown, it's the Berrytown.
municipal building.
Municipal
It was in
building.
it was in the retreat information that was sent to all the board members.
And Emily?
I just have a question about the location. Can we use one of our facilities for that? Going to Berrytown, I just don't understand the reasoning between now we're going to off-site. I don't understand it.
So there is a motion on the table if you want to, well, you can make a motion to amend it to, location.
May I
that's
answer
on-
that?
Yeah, sure.
If you look in the past, all the past board retreats are always off-site. And the food is usually there when we get there. We're not usually, asked what the food is. It's some light fare, and that's what I followed. What has gone on in the past is exactly what I did for this year, and I found an off-site place.
If you want to change that, you can certainly make a motion to amend it. All right, no other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
No.
All right, motion passes with one nay from Sonia. All right, moving on to the roundtable, and then just for the record, we will have a break right before the executive session. So roundtable, I'll start with Mr. Ciccinelli.
Nothing tonight.
All right, Garrett?
I loved in one of the, in the Berry City report about the Golden Dome Award Book Challenge, and, I think that I will try to participate on my own, and if anyone would like any books, I'm happy to get them from the library for you.
Excellent, thank you. Emily?
I would also like to do the Golden Dome Challenge, so that would be great. You can give
Board
me
book
some
club.
books.
I can review the budget.
I watched that entire video about the Golden Dome books. I was mesmerized. I wanted to read every single book from every single, age or grade range. I thought it was great. So count me in, Garrett. And, the other thing I wanted to say was I heard a great piece on Vermont Public yesterday. I think it was yesterday about ed funding. And I would encourage anyone, on the board, who's on staff, any community members to go to the Vermont Public website and look it up. There's a little video that goes with it. It's very easy to understand. It has a lot of great information. It was wonderful. And I realized we are not in the midst of trying to pass a budget right now, and we will be, but it was a great piece trying to understand the complexities of education funding and the formula. So I wanted to thank them for that, but also encourage everybody to listen. So, thank you.
Okay, Alice?
And to re-bring up one of my favorite subjects, and that is school buses. And that I'm continually seeing cars that are passing school buses. And just yesterday, there was a little gray sedan that whizzed right by the red lights near the laundromat in downtown Barry on North Main Street. And people really need to be aware that those big yellow buses and those bright red lights mean stop. And we're not kidding about that, because it's extremely dangerous on any street, whether it's a street like Main Street or whether it's a side street, Cobble Hill, wherever it might be. But you cannot be passing school buses, and people really need to be aware at the hours of the day, early morning and mid-afternoon, that is extremely important to not pass the school buses.
Thank you. Catherine?
Pat?
Nancy?
Yes, I've been going to the girls' soccer games, and they've been playing their hearts out. They've been doing a great job, and I also got to witness another board member's daughter get her first goal, and it was pretty exciting. And I don't know if you want me to say her name, but it was Giuliano's daughter. She was so excited. It was awesome. Anyways, the girls did good. They won tonight at 6-2, nothing. But they played their heart, and it's amazing to me how well they play together, and they're always looking for each other and getting that ball to them. And great teamwork by these girls.
You say a little clap, I mean, if they won. No? Okay. Well, thank you. Carrie? Joanne,
Superintendent?
superintendent.
So this year, we have been approached by NBC5, who has a program called Weather at Your School program. The meteorologist, Marissa Biggin-Bonney, will be broadcasting live weather updates from both Berry City School and Berry Town School. And this is really exciting because this is all driven by the kids. They are the forecasters, and they're the ones who are going to be on television. So on Channel 5 from, now don't get up too early, 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. We will be broadcasting, let's see, it's this week. Let's see what date it is. This week is going to be Berry Town on Friday, and on November 1st, between 4:30 a.m. and 8 a.m., we will broadcast at the Berry City School. This will play over and over again throughout the day. We were really excited that some families really wanted to get up that early and bring their kids to school. But I think it's a great way to not only get our kids out there, but they give the principals an opportunity to talk about the positive things that are going on in their schools. I also wanted to mention, I appreciate Stephen Pappas from the Times-Argus has given us 4 opportunities this year to have a full page taken out in the Times-Argus to highlight the important things and fun things that are going on in our schools and also feature our students, and that is in the works. Let's see. Berry City received the invite from the city to have our middle school students instrument performers march in recognition of Veterans Day, which is going to be at 10 a.m. on November 11th. That is a school day, but all of you are invited to come down and see that parade. I think that's really great too. At least one high school senior from our school has been selected as a semifinalist in the 2024-25 Coca-Cola Scholars Program. Only 1,336 semifinalists were chosen among 105,000 applicants this year, only 1.27%, because of their outstanding leadership, academic achievements, and dedication to their community. We want to identify and congratulate Isabella Ciccinelli as a semifinalist.
Yes.
I didn't do it.
Well, it's a proud
You had some hand in it.
That's all I have tonight.
I'll just say that, if you could share that video, the weather video on social media so
Sure
that
will.
folks can see that and be excited about it. Tomorrow night at between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., there's the BCEMS Talent Show. The judges are Shauna Trader, Tom Lozon, and Kristen Bauman. I knew I was gonna mess it up, and I listened to it today, and I still messed it up. Anyway, so that's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the gym at BCEMS. And with that, I'm all done. Moving on to our next meeting is going to be November 13th at Spalding High School Library via Google Meet. And then we do have 2 executive sessions, and I'm assuming I'm not allowed in one.
You have recused yourself.
Yes, okay, so is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss student academic records under 1 VSA 313A7 and include the superintendent along with and also for executive session, appointment and employment, evaluation of a public officer or employee under 313A3. The motion, that's the motion, and to include the superintendent.
So moved.
Okay. Gonna give it to Emily and then Alice, the second discussion. All those favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so at 7:54, we're going to take a break and then go into executive session. And are we not muted?
We are
There's nobody
recording.
here, so it is currently 8:45 PM. Is there a motion to come out of executive?
You're not recording yet. It said recording will start soon.
Is that?
Oh, that's it.
This
Okay,
call
sorry.
being recorded.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead. Sorry.
So it's currently 8:45 PM. Is there a motion to come out of executive session? Motion by Terry, seconded by Alice. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, is there a motion to? Sonia,
Motion to authorize the chair to work with legal counsel to draft a response to a complaint.
So moved.
motion by Sonia, seconded by Alice. Is there discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Garrett, seconded
Second.
by Nancy. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.